Good day everyone, I am Rialyn K. Diamoy. The topic that I'm going to discuss is all about the administration of President Corazon C. Aquino and President Fidel V. Ramos. First, I'm going to discuss the administration of Corazon Cuanco Aquino. Corazon Aquino, the first female president of the Philippines, led the country from 1986 to 1992. Her administration followed the People Power Revolution, which ended Ferdinand Marcos' dictatorship. Aquino focused on restoring democratic institutions, passing land reform, and addressing economic challenges despite facing criticism and coup attempts. Her legacy lies in restoring democracy and promoting space in the Philippines. Who is Cory? Corazon Cory Aquino was a Filipino politician and democracy activist who served as the 11th president of the Philippines from 1986 to 1992. She was the first female president in Asia and was known for her role in leading the People Power Revolution, which overthrew the long-standing authoritarian regime of Ferdinand Marcos in 1986. Before her presidency, Aquino was a housewife and mother who became involved in politics after the assassination of her husband, Benigno Aquino Jr., a prominent opposition leader. In 1983, she became the leader of the opposition movement against Marcos and ran for president in the 1986 snap election, which were widely believed to be rigged in favor of Marcos. Aquino passed away on August 1, 2009, but her legacy as a champion of democracy and a symbol of hope for the Filipino people continues to inspire generations of Filipinos. These are the political achievements of President Corazon Aquino. The 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, approved and enacted in February 1987, was a significant document that reshaped the country's political landscape after the People Power Revolution. It limited the president's power to declare martial law, proposed autonomous regions in the Cordillera and Muslim Mindanao, restored the presidential form of government and bicameral Congress, and safeguarded the rights of the Filipino and replaced the 1973 Constitution. This constitution marked a transition to democracy, promoted autonomy and rights, and established a more inclusive governance system in the Philippines. During Corazon Aquino's administration, several key initiatives and institutions were established to restore democracy and promote national reconciliation in the Philippines. First is restoration of democratic institutions. Aquino's administration focused on restoring democratic institutions that had been undermined during the Marcos regime. This included efforts to strengthen the rule of law, promote transparency, and uphold human rights. Second is Freedom Constitution or Proclamation Number 3. Following the ousting of Ferdinand Marcos, Aquino promulgated the Freedom Constitution through Proclamation Number 3. This temporary constitution provided the legal framework for the transition to a more democratic system of governance. Third is national reconciliation. Aquino's administration prioritized national reconciliation to heal the divisions caused by years of authoritarian rule. Efforts were made to foster unity, dialogue, and forgiveness among different sectors of society. Fourth is ARMM or Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The creation of the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or ARMM was a significant development aimed at addressing the aspiration of the Muslim population in the region for self-governance and autonomy. So, last is PCGG or Presidential Commission on Good Government. The Presidential Commission on Good Government or PCGG was established to recover ill-gotten wealth accumulated by the Marcos family and their associates during the martial law period. The PCGG played a crucial role in pursuing accountability and justice for past abuses. So overall, these initiatives, including the restoration of democratic institutions, the enactment of the Freedom Constitution, efforts toward national reconciliation, the establishment of the ARMM, and the creation of the PCGG were instrumental in shaping the post-Marcos era in the Philippines under Corazon Aquino's leadership. During Corazon Aquino's administration, significant economic and social achievements were made, contributing to the development and well-being of the Philippines. So the first is economic achievements. So first is CARL, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law. The Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law, or CARL, was a landmark legislation enacted during Aquino's presidency. It aimed to redistribute agricultural land to landless farmers and promote social justice in rural areas. The implementation of CARL was a crucial step towards addressing land inequality and improve the livelihoods of farmers. Second is agrarian reform. Aquino's administration prioritized agrarian reform as a key economic policy by implementing programs such as CARL. The government sought to empower farmers, enhance agricultural productivity, and reduce poverty in rural communities. So next is social achievements. So the first is DSWD, or Department of Social Welfare and Development. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, plays a vital role in providing social protection, welfare services, and assistance to vulnerable populations in the Philippines. Under Aquino's administration, the DSWD likely expanded its programs to support those in need and promote social welfare. Second is Generics Law. The Generics Law, also known as the Philippine Generics Act, was enacted to promote the use of generic drugs and make essential medicines more accessible and affordable to the public. This legislation aimed to improve healthcare affordability, increase access to medication, and enhance public health outcomes. In summary, Corazon Aquino's administration achieved significant economic progress through the enactment of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law and emphasis on agrarian reform. On the second front, initiatives such as the establishment of the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the implementation of Generics Law aim to enhance social welfare, healthcare accessibility, and support for marginalized communities in the Philippines. How did the administration start? The Corazon Aquino administration began in 1986 after the People Power Revolution, a peaceful uprising that aimed to overthrow the authoritarian rule of Ferdinand Marcos. The revolution was sparked by the disputed 1986 presidential election. First served as reach in favor of Marcos, the EDSA Revolution, a massive gathering at Epifanio de los Santos Avenue in Manila, led to Marcos fleeing the country, the Aquino being declared the new president. The peaceful protests and civil disobedience of the people played a pivotal role in the transition of power and the restoration of democracy in the Philippines. Corazon Aquino's presidency had both positive and negative aspects to her legacy. First is positive aspect. So first is champion of democracy. Aquino was a symbol of democracy and played a pivotal role in restoring democratic institutions in the Philippines after the People Power Revolution. Second is land reform. She implemented the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or CARP, which aimed to distribute land to landless farmers and promote rural development. And the third is human rights. Aquino prioritized human rights protections, worked to address past abuses, promoting a culture of respect for human rights in the country. And the last is women's rights. As the first female president of the Philippines, Aquino's leadership helped advance women's rights and representation in politics. And the next is negative aspects. So the first is economic instability. Aquino faced economic challenges during her presidency, including high inflation, budget deficit, and external debt, leading to economic instability. Second is weak leadership. Some critics viewed Aquino's leadership as weak, especially in dealing with economic issues and internal conflicts within her administration. The third is limited reform. Despite her efforts, some perceive Aquino's reforms as limited and addressing deep-seated issues such as corruption, poverty, and social inequality. In summary, Corazon Aquino's presidency was marked by her role as a champion of democracy, advocate for land reform and human rights, and promoter of women's rights. However, her administration also faced challenges such as economic instability, perceived weak leadership, and limitations in implementing comprehensive reforms to address systematic issues in the Philippines. How did the Cory Aquino administration end? The Corazon Aquino administration ended in 1992 after Aquino served a single 6-year term as the President of the Philippines. She chose not to seek re-election, citing the need for fresh leadership and a return to private life. Aquino's presidency was characterized by significant political changes, including the restoration of democracy, drafting a new constitution, and implementing land reform. Despite facing challenges such as coup attempts, economic instability, and natural disasters, Aquino remained dedicated to promoting democracy, human rights, and social justice after leaving office. Aquino continued to advocate for democracy and human rights until her passing on August 1, 2009. Her legacy as a champion of democracy and a beacon of hope for the Filipino people endures, inspiring generations of Filipinos.
Pangulong Corazon Cojuangco Aquino, ang kauna-unahang babaeng pangulo ng bansa, tinawag na Tita Cory ng ordinaryong Pilipino. Binansagan din siyang Mother of Philippine Democracy at ang Joan of Arc ng modernong panahon. Sari-saring parangal ang kanyang tinanggap habang at pagkatapos niyang magsilbi bilang presidente ng bansa. Kabilang narito ang Time Magazine Woman of the Year, Eleanor Roosevelt Human Rights Award, United Nations Silver Medal, Canadian International Prize for Freedom, Ramon Magsaysay Award for International Understanding, one of Time Magazine's 20 Most Influential Asians of the 20th Century, World Citizenship Award, Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolent Peace Prize, at United Nations Development Fund for Women. Malaki ang inasahan ng sambayan ng Pilipino kay Cory Aquino, kahit pa nga simpleng may bahay lang siya bago maihalal bilang Pangulo. Nang maupo sa kanyang posisyon, itinatag niya ang revolusyonaryong gobyerno habang hinihintay na maratipikahan ang 1987 Constitution. Nakita rin niya bilang banta sa kapangyarihan ng bansang may kasarinlan ang pananatili ng base militar ng mga Amerikano, kung kaya't iniutos niyang lisanin ng mga Amerikano ang military bases nila sa Zambales at Pampanga. Kabilang pa sa mga ginawa niya na naging tatak ng kanyang administrasyon ang pagrereforma sa Family Code of the Philippines at ang pagbabago ng istruktura ng ehekutibong sangay ng gobyerno sa pamamagitan ng Administrative Code of 1987. Ganito rin ang kanyang ginawa sa Korte Suprema upang mapanumbalik ang pagiging independyente nito. Nakita ni Tita Cory na napakaraming dapat gawin matapos ang mahigit 2 dekadang pamumuno ni Pangulong Marcos. Kabilang sa una niyang pinagtuunan ng pansin ang pagbabayad sa nooy 26 na bilyong dolyar na utang ng bansa. Bagamat hindi ito naging isang popular na desisyon, para kay Aquino, ang pagbabayad ng mga utang na ito ang pagpapanumbalik ng magandang reputasyon ng Pilipinas sa mga mamumuhunan sa buong mundo. Sa kanyang pamumuno, binuwag ang mga kartel at monopolya, ibinukas din ang merkado sa mga nais magnegosyo, at upang mapunuan ang lumobong kakulangan sa pondo ng bansa, isinapribado ang ilang korporasyon na pag-aari ng gobyerno. Naging pamana ng Administrasyong Aquino ang mga proyekto kaugnay ng sektor ng agraryo. Noong 1998, sa suporta na rin ni Tita Cory, ipinasa ng Kongreso ang Republic Act No. 6657 o ang Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law na nagbibigay daan sa pamamahagi ng mga lupaing agrikultura sa mga tenant farmers mula sa mga may-ari nito. Hindi naging madali ang 6 na taong panunungkulan ni Pangulong Cory Aquino. Sa kabila ng mga positibong naiambag ng kanyang administrasyon sa bansa, hindi maikakaila na ang electric power shortage ang isang negatibong aspeto ng kanyang pamumuno na hindi nalilimutan ng ilan nating mga kababayan. Maraming negosyo kasi ang lubhang naapektuhan nito. Bukod pa riyan, ilang beses ding nagkaroon ng pagtatangkang agawin sa kanya ang pagkapangulo sa pamamaraan ng kudeta. Nagkaroon din ng matitinding kalamidad dulot ng mga bagyo. lindol at ng pagsabog ng bulkang Pinatubo. Sa pagtatapos ng kanyang termino, may mga humimok kay Aquino na muling tumakbo sa pagkapangulo. Subalit tinanggihan na niya ito at nag-endorso na lamang ng kanyang kandidato. Matapos na bumaba sa kanyang pwesto, naging abala si Cory sa pagpipinta at pagdalo sa mga pagpupulong sa ibang bansa. Noong March 24, 2008, inanunsyo ng kanyang pamilya na ang dating Pangulo ay may sakit na colorectal cancer. Unang araw ng Agosto 2009, binawian ng buhay si dating Pangulong Cory Aquino sa edad na 76. Ang paghahatid sa kanyang huling hantungan ang isa sa pinakadinagsang libing sa kasaysayan ng bansa na nagpapakita lamang na sa kabila ng kanyang pagkamatay, buhay pa rin ang Cory Magic. Corazon Cojuangco Aquino, ang ika-11 Pangulo ng Pilipinas.
Administration of Fidel V. Ramos, popularly known as FVR and Eddie, is a retired Filipino general and politician who served as the 12th president of the Philippines from 1992 to 1998. Was marked by significant economic reforms, infrastructure development, and peace initiatives. Ramos' presidency focused on economic liberalization, privatization, and attracting foreign investments to stimulate economic growth. He also pursued peace agreements with rebel groups such as the Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF and the Communist Party of the Philippines or CPP to address long-standing conflicts in the country. Additionally, Ramos prioritized infrastructure projects to improve transportation and communication networks. Ramos was widely credited and admired by many for revitalizing and renewing international confidence in the Philippine economy prior to his election as president. Ramos served in the cabinet of President Corazon Aquino, first as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP, and later as Secretary of National Defense from 1986 to 1991. He was credited for the creation of the Philippine Army Special Forces and the Philippine National Police Special Action Force. Since his retirement, he has remained active in politics, serving as advisor to his successors. Ramos, a military general himself, made peace with the rebel panels. He was instrumental in the signing of the final peace agreement between the government in the Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF led by Narmis Wari in 1996. Overall, the Ramos administration is remembered for his economic policies, peace efforts, and infrastructure development during his tenure as President of the Philippines. During the administration of Fidel V. Ramos, there were notable political achievements and economic achievements. So the first is political achievements. First is energy crisis. Fidel V. Ramos addressed the energy crisis in the Philippines during his administration by implementing policies and strategies to improve the country's energy security and sustainability. He focused on diversifying the energy sources and increasing energy efficiency to mitigate the impact of the crisis on the economy and the population. Second is NIPAS, the National Integrated Protected Area System. So, Ramos established the NIPAS, a system of protected areas in the Philippines to conserve and protect the country's biodiversity, natural resources, and ecosystem. This initiative aimed to promote sustainable development and environmental conservation for future generations. So the next is Local Government Code. Fidel V. Ramos enacted the Local Government Code, a landmark legislation that decentralized governance in the Philippines. This code granted local government unit greater autonomy and resources to manage their affairs, promote development, and deliver service effectively at the local level. So the next is economic achievements. The first is foreign investment and tourism. Fidel V. Ramos attracted foreign investment, particularly in the tourism sector, to boost economic growth by promoting the Philippines as a tourist destination and enhancing the investment climate. He aimed to stimulate economic development, create jobs, and increase revenue for the country. So the next is Asian Tiger Club economy. Under Ramos administration, the Philippines was recognized as part of the Asian Tiger Club economies, a group of emerging economies in the Asia that showed rapid economic growth and development. The country's economic performance during this period reflected increased competitiveness, export growth, and improved economic stability. Fidel V. Ramos' political achievements include addressing the energy crisis, establishing the NIPAS for environmental conservation, and enacting the local government code for decentralization on the economic front. His administration focused on attracting foreign investment, particularly in tourism, and contributed to the Philippines' recognition as part of the dynamic Asian Tiger Club economies. During the administration of Fidel V. Ramos, several significant social science initiatives were implemented. First is Philippine Centennial. The Philippine Centennial celebration marked the 100th anniversary of the country's independence from Spanish colonial rule. This historic event highlighted the rich cultural heritage, history, and achievements of the Filipino people, fostering national pride and unity. Second is Clean and Green campaign. The Clean and Green campaign was a nationwide environmental initiative aimed at promoting environmental awareness, conservation, and sustainable practices. This campaign encouraged communities to participate in waste management, tree planting, and other activities to preserve the environment for future generations. Third is Peace Agreement with MNLF. Fidel V. Ramos successfully negotiated a peace agreement with the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, a rebel group advocating for the rights of the Muslim population in Mindanao. The peace agreement aimed to end decades of conflict, promote reconciliation, and establish a framework for peace and development in the region. These social achievements initiatives under the Ramos administration contribute to fostering national identity, environmental stewardship, and peace-building efforts in the Philippines.
We came here, as I told you earlier, because of my sincere conviction that the time had come to reverse the situation.
Tumatak ng lubusan ang pangalang Fidel Valdez Ramos nang kumalas siya kasama si Juan Ponce Enrile noong 1986 mula sa nooy Pangulong Ferdinand Edralin Marcos. Pinsan ni Marcos ang Pangasinense at West Point Military Academy graduate na si Ramos. Pero ang rebelyon ni Ramos na sinuportahan ng taong bayan sa EDSA ang naging simula ng katapusan ng mahigit 2 dekadang diktadurang Marcos. Sa sumunod na administrasyong Cory Aquino, nagsilbi si Ramos bilang AFP Chief of Staff at kalaunan ay Secretary of National Defense. Kung doon sa rehimeng Marcos ay nag-aklas siya laban sa Pangulo, dito naman sa administrasyong Aquino, ipinagtanggol niya ang presidente laban sa sunod-sunod na kudeta. Sa pagtatapos ng termino ni Cory, pumalaot na si Ramos sa politika. Bigo man siyang mapanalunan ang nominasyon ng Partidong Laban ng Demokratikong Pilipino, nakuha niya naman ang suporta ni Pangulong Aquino. Sa ilalim ng bagong tatag na Partidong Lakas Tao, tumakbo at nanalo si Ramos sa 1992 presidential elections.
Huwag tayong mawawala ng pagtitiwala sapagkat hindi tayo mabibigo. Ang ating mga layunin, ang ating mga mitin ay makatarungan. Kaya ang Panginoon ng ating mga ninuno ay tiyak na pumapatnubay sa atin.
Naging bukang bibig ang Philippines 2000, ang programa ni Ramos para makamit ang political stability at peace and order, economic growth and sustainable development, environmental protection, quality of government at human resource development. Naipatupad ni FVR ang malaking bahagi ng kanyang socio-economic agenda sa pamamagitan ng kasunduang pangkapayapaan sa Moro National Liberation Front at pagpapatuloy ng peace talks sa mga rebeldeng komunista. Pakikipagtulungan sa pribadong sektor sa bisa ng Build, Operate, Transfer Law, pagbuwag ng mga monopolya at pagluluwag ng kontrol ng gobyerno sa ilang industriya, at pagpapalakas ng supply ng kuryente para tugunan ang power crisis ng nakaraang administrasyon. Bago magtapos ang kanyang termino, nabahira ng kontrobersya ang pamumuno ni FVR dahil sa pagsuporta niya sa Chacha o pag-amyenda sa saligang batas. tingin ng mga kritiko, paraan ito para manatili siya sa pwesto. Pero sa huli, maayos at payapang isinali ni Ramos ang panguluhan sa kamay ni Joseph Estrada, ang kanyang dating vice-presidente. Ibinigay ni Ramos ang halos kalahati ng buhay niya sa pagsisilbi sa militar at pulisya, nakipaglaban sa hukbalahap ng Japanese occupation at sa Korean War, nagsilbi bilang engineer sa Vietnam War, nagtatag ng mga elite groups tulad ng Army Special Forces at PNP Special Action Force, na sinuklian naman ng maraming military awards and recognition mula sa pamahalaan at maging sa ibang bansa. Sundalo, inhenyero, pangulo.
Promote the common good.
Isinilang noong March 18, 1928, pumanaw si FVR nitong July 31, 2022 sa edad na 94. Linda Humilia, ABS-CBN News.